I think our panel chairman this morning has really given us a very good introduction. Because as all of you know, clean tech is not only the biggest business opportunity in front of us in the future for everyone around the world, but it is also a business that we have to get into to really have a sustainable future for the generations to come. So what I'd like to do today is really try to share with you the business opportunity that we have in Hong Kong and also in particular in China, and how Hong Kong can really help you in realizing your business ambitions. So first of all, I think all of you may have known already, today China is already the largest consumer of energy in the world today. And with its GDP growing at 7 to 9%, it is forecasted that by 2035, the energy usage from China will be almost 50–60% higher than that of the United States. So as such, China's focus on the need of energy supply, the need of energy conservation and so on, is a tremendous opportunity in front of all of us. Now, in the current 5-year plans of China, basically the clean tech or the energy sustainability part play a very major role in this 5-year plan. For example, in the building energy saving area, it is a forecast or it is a target for the country in the next 5 years to try to make sure all the new buildings, the energy consumption, about 65% saving to the current stock compared to the current stock today. And then also on the target, the green targets, for example, there are also 8 new mandates that the country is aiming at. For example, it is committed that by year 2020, 15% of the energy consumed in China will have to come from non-fossil sources. So that means, again, tremendous opportunity for renewable energy, tremendous opportunities for energy conservation. And then on the, and they are also, which is rather unusual for China, is beginning to consider energy and environmental taxes that will be imposed on affluence, imposed on excessive energy consumption. And then finally, it also has a target to establish new industry in the clean tech area. For example, area like new energy vehicles, area like basically energy efficiency, and obviously new energy like solar, wind, and so on. So these are really the committed targets of China. And so as you have heard, the leadership is really committed to this. For example, the former premier of the China, Wen Jiabao, is that we can no longer sacrifice the environment for the sake of rapid development and rash construction, for example. And then there is also a recent study by the China Green Tech Report that said, you know, propelled by China's economic expansion and ambitious policies, green tech markets in China have grown swiftly and showing no signs of really slowing down. So again, really is a tremendous business opportunity for all of us to explore. Now, today, China is already one of the largest investors in renewable energy, with its spending today is over about $52 billion US. This is a 2011 number. And so it's almost 1/5 of the global investment in renewable energy. And then secondly, as I mentioned, by 2020, 15% of its energy will have to come from non-fossil sources. And then also, there is a commitment that it will reduce the carbon intensity of all its industries and its operation by 40 to 45% from the 2005 level by the year 2020. And also, the Eco-City movement call for refurbishment of almost 50% of the current building stock. So can you imagine with that, the tremendous business opportunity that everyone has to try to really help those refurbishment, really the whole China. Now, in terms of Hong Kong, there's also tremendous opportunities because Hong Kong today is already one of the lowest carbon footprint advanced city in the world because of its basically the rapid transport system, the subway system that we have in Hong Kong. So we have aspiration to turn Hong Kong into the greenest transport city in the world by electrifying our buses, electrifying our vans, and hopefully eventually our automobiles also. So with that, because again, Hong Kong being a compact city is a really good business opportunity to really turn that into the greenest transport city in the world. And also government have a number of programs to support building energy conservation also. So there are subsidies, there are incentive programs for building owners to reduce their energy consumption. And then, as I said, being a compact city, make it a really very good platform to test out new ideas, new technologies in terms of smart city, digital city, and green city. Now, with that, basically, the opportunities, green initiatives that we have in Hong Kong can be looked at in basically 5 categories. And basically, we're looking at energy efficiency, we're looking at buildings, conservation and construction, like also in the construction of the building, green transportation, the environment, and resources reuse, basically recycling. So those 5 broad areas. I'm not going to go into detail. As the organizer said, this will be on the website. So maybe let me go back to what we can do to help you, what Hong Kong can offer to help you to be successful in developing business in Hong Kong and China. So maybe with that, I just maybe want to introduce to you what our corporation is. And basically, we are what we call a statutory body. So we are an organization that is established by the government, but we are not part of the civil service. We are an independent company responsible for our own profit and loss, but then the government is the 100% shareholder by injecting capital through giving us a piece of land and helping us build the initial phase of our development. So today we manage 5 assets. The first one is the Hong Kong Science Park, which was only established about 11 years ago, much later than Singapore. We're about 10, 15 years behind Singapore in that movement. And then we also manage a creative center called InnoCenter, where we then nurture the creative industry. In the Science Park, we nurture basically commercialization of technology, companies that do that. And then in the InnoCenter, we nurture the creative industry, people that are into industrial design, product marketing, branding, and so on. And also, we manage 3 industrial parks, and that's where the manufacturing takes place. But again, the string of Hong Kong is not just Hong Kong itself. The string of Hong Kong is Hong Kong, Pearl River Delta, one country, 2 systems. That combination where you leverage the strengths of each region to your best benefits. Whereas in Hong Kong, we're still under the common law system. We are still a very low tax regime. And then we have also basically, the administration is completely separate from the mainland other than defense and foreign affairs, which we gladly accept because we don't have to spend money on the defense. So I think that you can really leverage the string of two regions. So that's why when we look at this, when you look at what we manage, basically we're providing the whole value chain of services from the development of products to the design of the products to the manufacturing of the products, all under one corporation that we can support companies that come into Hong Kong. But then the manufacturing or even the design and all those realization doesn't have to be just in Hong Kong. It can be done in Pearl River Delta also. In fact, we have a lot of connections with different cities. We collaborate together because, it was, for example, with Shenzhen and Guangzhou also, and even in Zhongguancun in Beijing is also our partner that we work together to help companies to develop business in our part of the world. So as I said, the Science Park is only about 11 years old, and we are basically in the current location, 3 phases development. We have completed 2 phases already, the 2 part on the left where we have the red writing on the building itself. And we have now about over 400 companies working in the park, over 9,000 people working in the park today. And then we are now, right now, in other words, the phase 1 and phase 2 now is about 95, 96% occupancy. So basically it's full. So we are in the process of developing our phase 3. So our phase 3, we are really using our phase 3 to really focus on developing the green tech or clean tech cluster in Hong Kong. So we not only are building additional facilities, but what is important is that we are also using phase 3 as a showcase for sustainable practice. In other words, we want to use it as a living lab of how do we really put sustainability into practical practice. So with that, we are obviously using the best technology, the best construction practices to build the phase 3, but we are also really administering phase 3 with green leases, with cultural changes and so on, to try to really achieve zero carbon footprint in the long run, which is our objectives. So as I said, basically we will use phase 3 to support the latest green technology development, and then we're using it as a showcase, and therefore using the best construction practices, the best design, and then we are also have a zero carbon footprint as the final objective. Obviously, that's probably 15, 20 years down the road because we've got to find a way to generate energy locally using local resources. And then hopefully by that, we will then really establish Hong Kong and southern part China as a hub for clean tech development. So how we go about doing it is basically quite simple. We started by using what we call passive design. So when you look at the layout just now, I forgot to point out to you, all the building orientation are different. So basically, we're going back to the old historical wisdom. So as you Chinese, you always know that you always want to set your house really facing south. So basically, all our buildings now, the design is really turned around that basically facing south, north-south orientation. And then also, we are spacing our building in a way that would maximize natural wind ventilation, because we also did a wind study in our area to try to really space it out so that we can really use the natural sunlight, natural ventilation as much as possible. So that's the passive design that we have. And obviously, we also adopted some latest new technologies, and that's the active design that we put into our buildings. And then with that, we're also looking at renewable energy. Obviously, solar energy is one of the key energy that we will be deploying. It is the thin film photovoltaic, again, that we have, because we have DuPont setting up the global thin film photovoltaic research center in our science park, and then the production in Shenzhen. So that hopefully basically the yield or the efficiency goes up, that we can be widely deployed that in buildings in Hong Kong. And then also, one very important element in this move are the cultural changes, and that's another element. So these are the 4 steps that we're using to try to achieve as close to zero carbon footprint as possible. So this is just a bird's eye view of our phase 3, and it's a very open design. Again, the purpose of that is to really promote networking, clustering, and really interchanges. And for Hong Kong, this is really a luxury, because all of you know Hong Kong, how compressed Hong Kong is. But to have a campus like what we have to allow company to do development there is really a luxury, and is really what we're trying to do to attract really talents from around the world to come to set up in Hong Kong. So again, just to recap on the buildings, we are really employing 14 new clean technologies in the design of the building. And just with those active design, we have reduced our energy consumption by about 34% versus the standard that was set up by the Hong Kong government for new buildings. And with that, we also last year was awarded by the Ministry of Science and Technology in China as what is called National High-Tech Industrialization Base for China. So we have been awarded by China to do that. But with that, it means that we now can elevate our level of participation, not only in collaboration with China companies, but also in supplying business and technology to China. So that is a tremendous accomplishment from the people in our park. Now, the business opportunity in Hong Kong, as I mentioned, is tremendous. One of the I mentioned is really the Hong Kong-China business model, the one country, two system, where you leverage the strength of each region to the best of your advantage. So you can really use the Hong Kong common law system to protect all your IP. And then Hong Kong is a good place to attract, in particularly, the Chinese diaspora from anywhere around the world to come back to Hong Kong to do the development, and at the same time leveraging the strengths and the market assets of China. And also, I mentioned the mainland's energy and environmental agenda, and that is really a huge, huge business opportunity for everyone. And the one last point is that Hong Kong also have a very good academic infrastructure. In fact, we have 8 universities in Hong Kong. Out of the 8 universities, 6 are research universities. And of the 6 research universities, 3 of them are always ranked in the top 50 of the global ranking of universities. So therefore, our academic standard are pretty world-class in that area, and therefore can really support and provide resources to help technology companies to develop and commercialize their products. So maybe just to really put that point in front of you, if you look at China and measure China in terms of their activities in research and development, and looking at that on 3 metrics, all right? Normally you look at how active that region is in technology development on certain metrics. One is how much money is that particular region spend on R&D, how many people are engaged in R&D, and third, how many patents do you register. So if we look at those 3 metrics and divided China into the different regions, the Hong Kong Pearl River Delta region, the Shanghai region around the Shanghai, Jiangsu area, and then also the Zhejiang area, the Beijing area, and so on. It may surprise you that out of the 3 metrics that I mentioned to you, 2 out of the 3 metrics, Hong Kong and Pearl River Delta, came out number 1 in the amount of money invested in R&D, in the number of people engaged in R&D versus the rest of the China region. The only one we came in second is really the number of patents registered. So basically what we're trying to do now is really working closely with Pearl River Delta. We both, Hong Kong and Guangdong province, has an objective of establishing Hong Kong and Pearl River Delta, or from Hong Kong to Guangzhou, where the green circle is, into a technology corridor, into a world-class technology corridor for the southern part of China. I think we have the capability of doing that, using Hong Kong to introduce the best and the brightest talents, to introduce technology from around the world that you will have a good legal system to protect, and then at the same time leveraging the resources and the market accessibility of China. So I think with that, also maybe one more comment is that you know that we are building a high-speed rail. You heard about the high-speed rail in China. And we are building a high-speed rail from Hong Kong to China today, and which will be completed in 2015. And once that is completed, from Hong Kong to Beijing on the high-speed rail will be 9 hours. Now, I'm not standing here to try to convince you to take high-speed rail from Hong Kong to China. 9 hours is still a long way. But what it tells you is, with that connection, Hong Kong to more than 50% of the population of China will be within 4 hours of a train ride. So that means Hong Kong can radiate, Hong Kong can manage very big part of China. So that's what I put forward as an opportunity to you. And thank you very much for your time.
You know, not really startup companies, more mature companies that got their products ready, verified in other markets, and then want to use you as a launch pad into the big China market. Is that correct?
Only partially,
Yeah.
Matthias, because we also nurture startups. So what I put forth is Hong Kong as a platform, just like Singapore, is a compact city where you can really test out your product locally and then gain experience. And we in the Science Park have a very, very big incubation program. In fact, at any one time, we have about 120 startups under our incubation program. We provide all the support, not only financial, but mentorship, business matching, guidance, promotion of the product, and so on. So I think it's the nurturing important is both sides, not just mature company.
Okay, thanks.